The truth that nobody tells you is that when you get married, your life as you knew it or your life as you know it is over. That is what is wrong with our society and this fake morality that we have built these days. We trap young people. Don't do this, don't do that. If you are going to hell, you will burn. If you do what young men do when young men are supposed to do it. Do what young girls do when young girls are supposed to do it. To parents, stop locking your kids up in the house. I promise you that as I speak to you, I'm thinking of at least 2 parents that I know who calmed their girls in the house, locked them up, did not allow them to see boys, did not allow boys to come to the house, did not allow them to date. One of them called me recently. Tell you about please help us look for a husband for our daughter. We are looking for a husband. She's now going to be 30. I didn't have the liver or the mind to tell them that, is it not that same daughter you refuse to allow anybody date when she was in the house? And this is probably the most important part of this video. This video is very important. There are many important parts, but if you forget any other thing I say, don't forget this one. At this point, I must have emceed 1,000 weddings, not counting birthdays, corporate events, and other ones. I must have listened to 1,000 wedding speeches, almost 1,000, because not all weddings have chairmen, but most of them from our side do. The chairman's speech. So I must have heard 1,000 wedding speeches. And there is one line that nearly every chairman says. That one line. Marriage is not a bed of roses. I don't know why the voice of the chairman in my head is a lady's voice. Actually, I know. I can actually see that chairman in my head. It's been many years. One Akwa Ibom chairman that was dragging the microphone with me. You know, there used to be those chairmen that believe that their job is to MC the wedding. That the chairman's job, that the MC's job is just to introduce everybody to the high table and then hand over the microphone to the chairman. Then they will cut the cake and all of that. I don't fight with them. Once I have a chairman like that, I just go and sit and start eating and drinking. When they ruin the wedding, you will see the bride and the groom tell their parents to tell the chairman, because it's the parents that choose the chairman. Anyway, I digress. Wedding is not a bed of roses. Or let's balance it. Marriage is not a bed of roses. They say it. And yet, nobody listens. Nobody listens. Of course, at that point, it is too late for the bride and the groom. We're at their wedding. We're at the reception already. They are already doomed. But the remaining single people in the audience, nobody listens. Or maybe the bride and the groom, if they believed too, they wouldn't be as happy as they are. But nobody believes that marriage is not a bed of roses. Because you see, the reality is this. You see all these breakups that we're seeing these days. If I know 20 people now who have gotten married in the last 20 years, half of them are divorcing right now, or are divorced, or in the process of divorcing, or are separated as I speak to you. I'm sure you've noticed too. All of a sudden, you are now afraid to ask people. Maybe it's only me. You are now afraid to ask people you haven't seen in a long time. When you go out and you're at a party or at a function and you see your friend whom you know was married or whom you know is married because you attended their wedding, all of a sudden you are now afraid to ask how their husband or their wife is if the husband and wife is not there. Because next thing now, before you know, you hear that they have broken up again. In fact, there was somebody I stopped asking. The first time, how is your husband? Oh, he's fine. Then I saw her somewhere else again. The guy was not there. How is your husband? Oh, he's fine. And this was a family function. Then I saw her again at the third family function. And the man was not there again. So I didn't ask. Then I went to ask my mom. As I suspected, they had divorced. So what is going on with all this divorce going up and down? I'll tell you. The truth is that most people, including people who are watching this, most of us who are watching this, are not supposed to get married yet, or we're not supposed to get married yet. Some people are not supposed to get married ever. But for most of us, we marry too young. And that is exactly a function of age and experience. We marry too young, and it is this societal pressure, this societal pressure that is put on you. When are you going to get married? How your mates are married? In fact, I remember when I turned 31, a federal minister, a member of the federal cabinet, those years, a man for whom I used to do a lot of events as the MC, he called me when I turned 31. He wished me happy birthday, and then he started, are you not going to get married? Is it when you are old that you'll be having children, then you'll be chasing children around in your old age? You won't be able to play with your kids. I guess he did it out of concern and some form of affection. He was fond of me. That is what I will assume. But the truth is, with all due respect to him and to many people of that generation, even if it came out of love, it was pernicious advice. It was potentially damaging advice. It was misguided advice. Again, with all due respect. Because the thing he was saying, it's as if it's a guarantee that when you get married, you're going to have kids immediately. And that's exactly what happened. After I got married to my wife, even though we wanted kids immediately, we had to wait almost 6 years. So people say it as if it's a guarantee that when you get married, you're going to have kids immediately. Of course, somebody watching this will now say that, but aren't you glad you got married when you did? Because imagine if you had added 6 years to the time, if you had gotten married later and then added 6 years to it, then that would have been longer. You don't know that. Life doesn't work that way. Time is not linear. It doesn't work that way. First of all, if I hadn't gotten married when I did, I most likely would not have married my wife. Part of the reason is that she was a hot commodity. She's still a hot commodity in the market. They would have scooped her up. Omogidi won it. Good girls are hard to find, as my friends who are still single tell me. So they would have taken her since. So if I hadn't married my wife when I did, we probably wouldn't have gotten married. And if I didn't marry my wife and I'd married later, then the circumstances and the dynamics would have been different, because that is two different people coming together. The universe would have treated that union differently. So if I'd married somebody else, we might have had a child before we got married. That happens every day. We might have conceived on the wedding night. Indeed, it might have taken those 6 years, or it might have taken 20 years, or we might not have had kids at all. So it is not linear. So when people tell you all these things like, go and get married now because you want to have kids early, go and get married now because, those things don't work. Most people are not supposed to get married yet. We marry too young. And this is probably the most important part of this video. This video is very important. There are many important parts, but if you forget any other thing I say, don't forget this one. The truth that nobody tells you is that when you get married, your life as you knew it, or your life as you know it, is over. You're not understanding. Let me say it another way. I'm not meaning that, so when you get married, then your responsibilities make your life become a different life, or that your life, you're not getting it. I literally mean that when you get married, you cease to be the person that you used to be. You cease to be that person. That person stops existing. It's not as if that person dies, but that person goes into the ether, into the zeitgeist of the universe. Think about it this way. You are one person. Your spouse is another person. Both of you step out of that person that you are and join to become a whole new different entity, or entity as they say here. You become a whole different being, so to speak. Whom you used to be dissolves into the ether, into the zeitgeist of the universe, into the matter of the universe, or into the matter of the universe. It is still there, but the longer you're married to this person, to this new person, the longer this new entity begins to grow, the further and further that person you used to be drifts away, which is why divorce is very difficult, because people who divorce essentially split up that new being and try to find who they used to be. Ask people who are divorced. That's why they say divorce is one of the most difficult things that anybody can do. So what they don't tell you is that when you get married, who you are or who you were ceases to exist. You become a new person with this person. Now, the most potentially damaging and injurious part of that is that change doesn't occur immediately. I mean, it does occur immediately actually, but you don't feel it. It's not as if you get married today, then you wake up tomorrow morning and you're like, I'm different. It doesn't show up on your body. You still think you're the same person. But in the metaphysics of the universe, let's not get spiritual. Let's say in the spiritual places, but it's not religious now. I mean, let's not get religious. Let's be spiritual. In the spiritual places, you've actually ceased being who you used to be. The point of that is that if you're not done with who you used to be, or if you're not done with who you are right now, and you step into a marriage, you're likely to regret that marriage. That is what happens with a lot of people. Without thinking about it, because society is pressuring you, and you get into a marriage, and yet you're not done with who you used to be. So you enter that marriage still wanting to continue as who you were. That's why you find men still hanging out with their boys, women still talking to their mother and their sisters. I know somebody like that whose marriage broke exactly because of that. His wife somehow couldn't get it in her head that she was now in his house. She spent most of the time on the phone with her sisters and her mother. And then when it was holiday time, the mother was spending all the time in their house. So in between taking care of their kids and in between talking to the mother and talking to the sisters, the husband was almost completely neglected. So you cease to be who you were when you marry. And then the time it begins to occur to you is when you have your first child. At the point you have your first child, it's too late. By the time you have your second child, you are doomed. By the time you have your third child, it is over. It's just essentially over. You are locked in that thing for life. And if you try to undo that thing by divorcing or walking away, you probably end up doing more damage. So what should happen? Well, first of all, let's talk to people who are not married based on what I have said. The people of Ajawa in the Ogbomoso area, they say, Nígbà ara ńlá búra, ẹnìkan èbú Ṣàngó lẹ́rùn. Impossible to translate, but there is an accompanying English saying, or there's an accomplished English sentiment or thought or wisdom that I can use. And you find it in the Bible. Unto everything there is a time and there is a season. When you are a young man, do things that young men do. When you are a young woman, do things that young women do. That is what is wrong with our society and this fake morality that we have built these days. We trap young people. Don't do this, don't do that. If you are going to hell, you will burn. If you do what young men do when young men are supposed to do it. Do what young girls do when young girls are supposed to do it. To parents, stop locking your kids up in the house. I promise you that as I speak to you, I'm thinking of at least 2 parents that I know who calmed their girls in the house, locked them up, did not allow them to see boys, did not allow boys to come to the house, did not allow them to date. One of them called me recently. Tell you about please help us look for a husband for our daughter. We are looking for a husband. She's now going to be 30. I didn't have the liver or the mind to tell them that, is it not that same daughter you refused to allow anybody date when she was in the house? That you were locking her up in the room, sending all the boys away, policing her up and down. Now you want husband. That's the problem. Again, like I said, with all due respect to our parents, this misguided love and this protection that we do, and really, the truth is that it is not the children that we are really guiding. It is our own fears that we're indulging, our own fears, our own shortcomings, the chips on our own shoulders. So the point I'm making is, do things that young people do when you're supposed to do them. There's a season for everything. Look, I'm not even close to being perfect. How can I tell you I'm not the most perfect person? I'm not even close. But I have largely tried to be the man that I promised God and man, or God and men, I was going to be when I took my vows in my marriage. When I said that whole forsaking all others and cleaving unto you, I've essentially been, I don't try. It's been me and my wife. And that amazes a whole lot of my friends. In fact, not that amazes all my friends who knew me as a single guy. Teju, now you can't stay with one woman like this? You're the one who has stayed with only one woman. Well, yeah, because when I was running the town, exactly what they are saying, I ran the town. We've been do the thing now. We run the town. So that if you see me now running the town, if you knew me then, you probably say to me, with all that you did, now you still suppose they run town. Of course, one has to approach it with a little bit of, responsibility. Because if you're running the town out recklessly, you go just die. So yes, there's a degree to which I was very lucky. But I'm not the only one. Boys ran town and boys were lucky and boys are alive. So the point, girls did what girls were supposed to do. They dated, responsibly and all of that, and girls are alive. That is why you find quite a lot of people in their marriages now, because they didn't do what they are supposed to do, and because they don't realize that who they are will cease to exist when they get married. They get married still leaving things undone, and then they try to do those things inside marriage, and those things destroy marriage. That's why you find men who have been married for 15, 20 years still chasing their daughter's age mates. They never stopped. And then when the wife finds out, you now start saying stuff like, she's supposed to accept, I'm a provider. What? Who is it? Did she tell you she came to the marriage for provision? Is that what she told you? So that's the first thing. Before you get married, make sure, if I have one advice for you as a person who is looking to get married, come to the point where you actually feel and believe that there is nothing else for me out there. I will say it again. You will know that it is not society that is pressuring you to get married when you feel that way. Because a lot of people actually don't know it's society that is pressuring them. You actually feel that it is you who wants to get married. No, nobody actually really, at least most people don't actually feel as if it is society that is pressuring them. They don't know. Because most likely, most of the time, that pressure is subliminal. Think about it. You have gone to the weddings of 10 of your friends. You have gone to the naming ceremony of 7, the naming ceremony or the christening ceremony of the babies of 7 out of those 10. If you're a woman, especially in Nigeria, they're not going to tell you that. They don't need to tell you. You will be telling yourself. So without people even putting mouth, there is subliminal and subconscious societal pressure on you. So most people don't actually know. But the way you will know is by asking yourself, have I done everything I should do? Do I feel like there's nothing else for me to do on this level? Am I tired? That's it. Am I tired of being single? If you can answer yes to that question, if you've come to the point where you are actually miserable being single, then you are probably ready. Note, that means that necessarily you must be able to remember a time when you were happy being single in the beginning. I tell you this from experience. There was a time when when being single was a joy. I couldn't wait to leave my parents' house in Shogunle, which I did. And I got my first crib in Surulere, and the second crib in Ikoyi, and the third crib in VI. I was happy to be single. But after doing that for quite a number of years, small, the loneliness started to creep in. The loneliness and the exhaustion. And so that by the time I was ready to get married, I was miserable being alone. I was just miserable. It was no fun anymore running around town. It was no fun. At that point, you are probably ready to get married. And even then, maybe all you just need is a break. Maybe you are not even ready to get married. Now, secondly, for those people who are already married and feel as if they are trapped, which is why I actually started this video. If I was going to do this for 10 minutes, how many minutes have I now done? 20 minutes. Maybe we should break this into 2 and do the second part later, right? Should I? I probably should. Don't get married yet. And for some of you, don't get married at all. They always make it seem as if you don't get married, then you are irresponsible. They say things like, God said it's not good for man to be alone. He either finds a wife, finds a good thing. It shows the Lord is pleased with you. When in that same Bible, Jesus said that anybody who wants to follow me must hate his father and his mother and his brothers and his sisters. And he wasn't talking a parable. He was actually speaking oha. And just in case you think that he wasn't serious, was he married? Did Jesus marry when he was on earth? Whatever reason you give for that. He said anybody who wants to follow me must forsake family. He meant it literally. It wasn't metaphorical. He wasn't being figurative when he said it. And then he called the apostles. He called all of them from their family. You think they were traveling with their wives when they were carrying the gospel all around the nations? And then Apostle Paul said that, look, if you are burning up and you can't hold your body, go and get married. But I wish all of you can be like me so that you can face your purpose. So marriage is not, man, they don't deceive people, sha. If you don't feel like getting married, don't marry. Let them stop asking you, yeah, when are you going to get married? You just tell them, with all due respect, you will know. I will invite you. All right, that's it.